Hello, welcome back to my channel. So, I'm going to do the eager awaiting Maddie and Diego video. I already did my relationship timeline. That was my last video. If you saw, that video was hell. I hope y'all appreciate it because, I love these relationship timelines, but first of all, they're a lot of work. That's why it takes me forever to even do one. Because, I have to watch the show, I have to do all the research, write down all the notes, then there's the filming, which can take forever, the editing, and that video hated me. That video did not want to be edited. It took me weeks. Just to export it, because I was having issues. So, yeah. But, now I'm doing the top 10 Maddie and Diego moments from every which way. Yay! Who cheered? This list was hard. I knew more or less the scenes I wanted to include, but figuring out what order they should be in was the challenge, because there's so many scenes I love about them, and the scenes is like, oh my gosh, I love this one, but I love this one, which one do I love more, sort of vibe. So yeah, and there are several honorable mentions, small scenes that I don't think deserve to be top 10, but definitely deserves to have a shout out because they are still, even though they're kind of a smaller little scenes, I am obsessed. So yeah, and let's get into it. So number 10 is learning about Kanai/Kanai markings. So in this scene, this would have been season 3, or actually it might have been early season 4. Maddie and Diego were doing research about kanais because they're trying to learn everything they can about kanais. And they see a picture in one of the kanai books about kanai markings, and it showed one about a spider. Actually, I think this was season 3 because this was the first hint to who Mia was, and Mia's introduced in season 3. And then he was like, does that look like mine? So he decided to make his hands glow, and Maddie's like, oh, I love when you do that. And then she checked out his kanai markings, and no spider, but she was like, but your markings are really cool. And I don't know what it is. I know it's kind of a low-key scene, definitely not the best, because they have better scenes, obviously, but there's just something about this scene about, first of all, Maddie's just very flirty. Second of all, I just love how much they're trying to learn about kanais and how much Maddie is invested in this with him because it's important to him, so it's important to her, and she just wants to try to fix kanai in which relationships, and the first way about doing that is finding more kanai so that Diego isn't alone as being a kanai, and it's all just really sweet. Number 9 is so technically I have 2 different scenes for number 9 because they kind of give off the same vibe and I didn't know which one I wanted to put. So I chose both Kanai Duel as well as Protective Diego in Basement. So the Kanai Duel was definitely season 3. And Mia, being Mia, decides to start a Kanai duel with Diego because she doesn't think he's Kanai enough. And so he ends up agreeing, and he's just so protective of Maddie. Like, the way Maddie is just so supportive of him. Like, she wasn't a great girlfriend to Daniel, let's be real. Of course, I don't think he was a great boyfriend to her, but she's just so supportive with Diego. Like, I love the relationship. I can't stress it enough. But I just love how supportive she is with him, how she trains with him so that he can get better at his kanai abilities, the matching outfits, the way her and the Panthers, and I love that because Katie, I should say, hated Diego for so long, but then somehow, because Maddie and Diego fell in love, Katie and Diego sort of became like siblings in a way, because they definitely had that vibe sometimes, and I love how all the Panthers came to support him during the duel, how they were all cheering for him, and it was just so sweet. And then on Diego's side, he gets so protective and Mia realizes that Maddie is his kind of weak spot, so she threatens Maddie, and that makes Diego very mad, and he gets very protective, not just Maddie, but the Panthers in general. And it's really sweet, but Maddie doesn't want to leave Diego at the same time. And then I love the scene too. everyone is in Mia's basement to find out the truth of her. Sorry, it's like apparently I'm tired. But Maddie decided she wanted to leave, and Mia kind of threatens her with a fireball, and then Diego puts Maddie behind him, and he was like, "Don't touch Maddie," as his Kanai market show, and then he shoots a fireball at her, and yeah. Just don't mess with Maddie, okay? He becomes the most. He's such a cinnamon roll, but if Maddie's in trouble, he will be your worst enemy. Sort of the same vibes, but I love them. Number 8 is Maddie rescues Diego from Desdemona. So, Desdemona traps Diego, hoping to get to Maddie, and Diego as well as his sister Gigi, and it's really sweet because he said Desdemona's like, maybe I underestimated the witch's feelings for you, and then Diego's like, she loves me, and then Gigi's like, kind of sort of likes you, and I'm like, that is funny, but at the same time a little annoying because she does love him, okay? I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, she does love him. But as this is happening, Maddie is fighting with everyone else because she's like, the first thing we have to do is save Diego. That comes first, and I love it. I love how, Diego, Gigi was like, oh, she kind of sort of likes you, but then Maddie was willing to let the world burn if it meant she couldn't save Diego. I loved it. But then she does show up, and she frees Diego, fights Desdemona, and the two of them hug, and it's a really sweet moment. But then, Katie and Ginny's like, ew, while Sophie's like, aww. Number 7 is Diego trains Maddie and makes snow. So, when Maddie gets her powers back, she is struggling to cast spells. So he kind of sort of guides her and helps her, and he's like, think of this, and then she ends up kind of creating a storm, and he was like, if that's your rainbow, I don't remember exactly how he puts it, but with his direction and guidance, she's able to make rain, and then he uses his Kanai abilities to turn the rain to snow, which makes Maddie so happy. She gives him his purse and runs and to be under the snow, and she's kind of spins around a couple times grinning, and then she looks at him, and he looks at her so lovingly as he watches her dance in the snow, and it's just such a sweet moment. It's such a small scene, but it's just so cute. Number 6, this one was I originally had it closer to 10, but then I was like, you know what, I love this scene, and then I ended up moving it down a bit, and this has always been one of my favorite Miego scenes ever since I was little, or ever since the show first came on. I don't remember how old I was when the show first came on. I'm pretty sure I was at least a teenager. But I was always obsessed with this, even though it's such a small scene, and I don't know if anyone else is obsessed with this like I am, but it's the mood ring. So, Maddie's face ends up being a mood ring, basically. They don't know what's wrong with her, but her face just starts turning different colors, and then whenever she sees Diego, she's like, oh no! So she ends up leaving because they're all kind of in detention, so they're forced to do stuff for the play, and then she's like, oh no, I can't let Diego see me like this, so Katie gets her out of there while Sophie distracts Diego. Not a good plan, but okay. Diego gets away from Sophie fairly easily, and then he meets her at her house. I wonder where the heck Maddie and Katie went, because they left first, and somehow Diego ended up in her house first. And does he have a key? Because, Ursula doesn't let him in all the time. So how does he always end up in her living room? Plot hole. But anyways, moving on. So she walks in with Katie and I think Sophie. Sophie's with them at this point. So at some point they got with Sophie as well before they came home. But they got to her house. Diego's there, and then her face turns this pinkish. And then Diego is confused, and that's when she realized her face is still mood ringish. So she turns around, and that's when Katie actually figures out that her face is a mood ring. Whenever she feels a certain emotion, her face is lighting up with the color that resembles that emotion. And then Diego's like, what color does it turn when I'm around? And she's like, nothing. And he was like, I knew it. You have feelings for me. And she's like, no, I don't. And I love it because instead of, he didn't get mad that when she asked him to leave or anything, he just smiles because he knows that she has feelings for him, even if she's not ready to admit it herself yet. And so he's smiling as he walks away. And then Katie's like, okay, he's gone. So she turns around and she's like, he is. And her face turns blue. And then when she realizes her face turns blue, she's like, oh, man. And it's just such a cute scene because the way this is around the point that Maddie can no longer deny that she has feelings for him because her face kind of told on her. And Diego's little smile is everything. And it's just such a cute scene. Number 5 is Maddie lists off things about Diego. So this is also probably one of their most popular scenes, which it is well deserved. It's such a cute scene. They're in class, and Diego's saying how he thinks it's great that her mom is marrying Mr. Alonso, which is the school principal as well as Emma's father, and she's getting very annoyed with him because she doesn't like the idea at all. And then he was like, makes a comment about Mr. Alonso. She's like, I get it, okay? And then she starts listing off a bunch of things like how she likes Mr. Alonso, how, his other things he likes, his the best he's ever done in swimming and stuff. And then she says, your favorite condiment is, and at this point she is smiling now because I think she just now dawned on her that Maddie, who doesn't really listen to anyone but herself, let's be real, I don't even think Maddie realized that she knew all this stuff about Diego. And because at the beginning she's annoyed, she just starts listing off things she knows about Diego, and I don't even think she's realizing it. I don't know, maybe this is my own personal theory, but it's just the way, like, I just rewatched the scene too, getting ready for this video, and she starts off so annoyed, she just starts listing things off, and I think it was by accident. Like, I don't think she even meant to, or that she even realized that she knew all this stuff about Diego, or that it meant she was listening to him all along. And then, anyways, so she says, your favorite condiment is, and then he says, you were listening, with this adorable smile, because he has an adorable smile. And then she finishes off saying cayenne pepper. And then they just have this really sweet moment where they're staring at each other, and if you pay close enough attention, Diego's eyes flicker from her eyes to her lips. Just saying. He wanted to kiss her. But we all probably do that anyways. But it was just really sweet the way they looked at each other, but then Maddie, realized the moment and didn't want to admit she was having a moment with Diego, so she kind of looks away. She's like, who has a favorite condiment anyways? Number 4 is not attack Kanai is going to hurt you. This is a great scene too. So after the Mia locks Emma and Maddie into a closet full of snow, they rescue them, and then Diego and Maddie's talking because Maddie admits that she was jealous and she didn't like admitting that she was jealous, but she was, and she makes a comment saying that Mia was right, or Emma was right. Emma was right, and that it was Mia that locked in the closet. And he said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And she's like, "Because I know how important having another Kanai is for you." And he's like, "None of that Kanai is going to hurt you." And then he asks how she knew it was Mia, and she says that she made one of those flurry balls of snow that he makes, and then so he ends up making one for her, and she touches it, and snow happens all over the room, and it was so adorable as they look at each other, they hold hands, and then they kiss. It was such a sweet moment, definitely one of their best, and I love that scene so much. Number 3. So this one was hard, okay? This one and number 2 was kind of hard. I didn't know which one I wanted. I might regret this placement later, but so this one is Maddie's grand gesture. So in season 4, Maddie and Diego do break up. They're only broken up for like an episode, okay? Literally, they break up at the end of this episode and get back together by the end of this episode. They're together. They're broken up for like 5 minutes, okay? I swear. And so Maddie is never one to apologize, and she's never one to admit when she's wrong. And so, but with Diego, she does. And Diego's like, I'm not going to apologize when I'm right. And so Maddie decides to do this grand gesture. She ends up having a radio above her head at the 7. It was really sweet. And she and Diego's surprised, and she said that she's really sorry. And and he says he forgives her. So they go to. It looked like they were going to kiss, but then she realized she still had the radio above her head, so she gives it to Katie, and then the two of them hug, and they're back together. It's such a sweet moment, and I feel like this one gets overshadowed by so many of the other moments, and I love this moment between them, and I feel like it deserves some more recognition that I think the scene just never gets, especially since I feel like this is the one time where Maddie admits she's wrong, she apologizes, and because Maddie doesn't do that with anyone, but she does with Diego, and it just shows the effect he has on her. Number 2 is the conduit. So I'm talking about the entire conduit storyline. Okay, not from the season 1 with the principal and stuff, but from the season 2 storyline. Because it all kind of goes together in my opinion. So basically in the storyline, Maddie lost her powers at the end of season 1, and then they end up in her mom, for some background. And she had no idea. She was trying so hard to get her powers back. And, but then she finds out that her mom had it and her friends knew about it, so she gets very upset. So she ends up crying to Andy, of all people, because she didn't know who she was anymore. She didn't know who she could trust, and she felt lost. But during this conversation, Diego overheard her. So Diego went to Katie, who... I'm gonna try not to rant about this because I got a little ranty in my relationship timeline video, so I already did that. But I will never be over the fact that this Nickelodeon show had this 16-year-old girl decide she wanted to kill this 16-year-old boy because he wanted to date her best friend, who I still swear she's in love with him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had this insane reaction because she was trying to get Diego to be the conduit, lying to him, saying that she knew how to protect him from being disintegrated. How... I don't feel like this was ever addressed, that she was trying to kill Diego because Diego wanted to date Maddie. And I don't think she would have had an extreme reaction like this unless she had romantic feelings for Maddie. Let's be real. But I will never, ever be over that. Ever. Just so you guys know. Anyways, like I said, don't want to get too ranty, because I did all that ranty in my last video. So, moving on to the fact that, so he does go to Katie, he's like, you sure you know how to protect me from being disintegrated? She lies and is like, yeah, we can do it, we have a way. And he's like, okay, then I'll do it for Maddie. Because he realized how much this was affecting Maddie, and he would do anything for her. And if there was a chance he wasn't going to get disintegrated, he was going to take the chance to help her. So, they wrap him in tinfoil, because that was apparently their solution. And then Maddie was unsure, which is funny because she's never been unsure in her life, and she wanted her powers back more than anything. And as much as I love Maddie, she's very much a well-written, well-developed character, but she's also very selfish, and she wants what she wants. So, but Maddie was unsure because she was afraid of hurting him. But then Katie tried to kill Diego. I'm sorry. Moving on. Once again, grabs Maddie's hand and connects it to Diego's hand. And then Ursula, being Ursula and he's nice, decides to touch him like this. And the power transfer started. But then Diego started feeling the effects because the tinfoil was a lie and they were trying to murder him. I've tried not to rant here, but I'm still not over that, okay? I don't think I'll ever be over that. Anyways, moving on. Once again. If I guess Ice Shark was for time, I'm putting myself in timeouts. Anyways, Maddie realized that this was affecting him, but being Maddie and not wanting to admit that she cared or anything, takes her hand away and well, first before that, she kind of says proxy, and he tries to give her a reassuring smile while he's obviously in pain, and then she takes her hand away, and she's like, no, this isn't working. And the real reason was because she didn't want to hurt him. So, later on, Diego goes to her and said, thank you for stopping that. I knew you wouldn't hurt me. And she gives him a small smile before she, does be all Maddie and rolls her eyes and walks away all grumpy or whatever. And, yeah. But then, Diego shows up at Maddie's house with a giant ball of scraps. And he's filthy. And when Maddie sees it, Katie and Sophie explain that they're like, oh my gosh, we built you this giant ball of scraps for your power transfer, whatever. And then Diego stops them. She's like, no, they didn't. I did. And Maddie kind of looks at him all sweetly. She's like, you did? And it was just really sweet. And then they do the power transfer. Maddie gets her power, and then Maddie almost like falls. And Diego rushes to her, like he's the only one that rushes to her, just to, so you know, Katie and Sophie can be equally selfish, I swear, but Diego truly cares about her, and then she turns out to have her powers back. But that sequence, like all those scenes, are some of my favorite scenes in this entire show, favorite Maddie Diego scenes, and I don't think they're talked about enough, and yeah, so wanted to give them some light. And now we're on to the honorable mentions. So I have the I'm not Gaga over Daniel / the fireworks scene. So in this, there was a whole love spell on Daniel, blah blah blah, and then I do love that though because it's a spell, and everyone else was spelled, and nobody could break it, but somehow Diego was able to get through her spell by saying that Katie needs you. And I feel like only Diego could have done that. I think it's really sweet. But anyways, so they go to find Katie. They have their moment with Katie. And then when they're about to go back to the party, Diego wasn't going to go. Because she's like, what? Watch you fall all over Daniel? And she's like, I'm not Gaga over Daniel. And he's like, who are you Gaga over then? As he follows her out. And then Diego gets away from the party to create fireworks, and then shows Maddie looking at the fireworks while Diego's looking at her, and it was just such a sweet moment. This is when they officially start dating. Please is the next scene. This is when Maddie and Diego go to her house, and Ursula wanted to talk to her, so she's like, go make me a smoothie. And then he kind of gives her a look, and she's like, please. And he's like, okay. And he goes to make her a smoothie, and then Ursula gets so mad at her for saying the word please. Like, how dare you have manners? But I know it's such a small scene, but I just love the effect he has on her, honestly. You know, this scene is also a very small scene, but I absolutely love it, even more than the last scene, and it really shows the effect Diego has on her. Who cares about fashion? It was when they were all trying to figure out about the magic realm possibly being destroyed, and Ursula was trying so hard to seem impressive for saving the magical realm, and trying to figure out the best outfit she should wear, and then Maddie got annoyed with her mom and was like, who cares about fashion? And everyone gasped, and she was like, did I just say that? And Diego got closer to her, he was like, what has got into you? Because I kind of like it. And then Ursula's like, this is your fault. And it's just such a funny scene because Ursula is so bad that Diego is this good influence on her daughter, or as she likes to claim, bad influence. And it's just so funny. If he goes, I go. So Maddie, during the whole breakup thing, you know, was because of the whole family situation, and Maddie ended up bringing Diego. Ursula did not want Diego there, of course. But she decided that he's her boyfriend. She wants him there. So she said that if he goes, she'll go. And then she's like, you can go. You can't go. And then she was like, good, I guess we're staying. Diego senses Maddie in trouble. Now, I already mentioned the whole locked in the closet sort of thing with snow and stuff. But right before they got rescued, Diego could sense that Maddie was in trouble. I don't think this is ever talked about. What do you mean he could just sense her? Like, she screamed, and he could somehow just hear that. And it's like, nobody talks about this. How do we not talk about this? Okay, just saying. So these are two moments that are really small, and I love them. And one of them is when Diego says, "Yeah, she's one of a kind," talking to Jax in season 4. And the other one is "I can't get enough of it," talking to Daniel when Daniel's like, "I figure she would have driven you mad by now," and she's like, "Oh, she has," and I can't get enough of it, which shows why Diego's better for her than Daniel ever was. And then another scene is Code Pink. This is during their small breakup era, and Ursula and Maddie were about to have a magical duel with Emma and Jax. His name slipped my mind for a minute, and Andy was there too because Diego and Andy went there together. And then she said, "It's a Code Pink," and then Diego, even though he's mad at her, dropped the pizza, ran to his side. "Can I mark it, Joey?" She's like, "Nobody touches Maddie." Like I said, Cinnamon Roll turns into a beast when it's about Maddie. Let's be real. So dancing, I think that scene's really cute too. When Maddie first gets her power back, she does this little spell to make everyone dance, and then Diego dances with her. Diego versus Jake during the reunion. Jake tries to hurt Maddie to get back at Ursula, so Diego reveals his kunai markings, revealing that he is a kunai to her entire family, and he's like, "Stay away from Maddie," and then he ends up beating Jake. As well as another scene that's underrated is the Maddie and Diego versus Jax fight. Maddie and Jax has a duel when Diego shows up, so he decides to join in to help Maddie because she asked him to. And then what I love about this, I never hear anyone talk about, is when he says, "How did that happen? Did he do that?" And she's like, "No, I did," because she didn't want Jax to find out that Diego was a kunai. I mean, he did find out like a second later, but the fact that she did that without thinking, without hesitating, showed how much she cared about him. I think this would have been shortly after she got her powers back, so they wouldn't have been dating yet either. It just shows that even though she wasn't ready to admit it, she had feelings for him. And the last moment from the honorable mentions is "He always comes after me." This is Maddie yells at Diego for spending time with Mia, then she runs off with Sophie, and then they're waiting, and Sophie's like, "Are you sure he's gonna come?" She's like, "Yes, he always comes after me." And then Diego shows up, and she smiles, and she's like, "See?" And so she runs over and hugs him, but then he just barely hugs her. She's like, "What's wrong?" And then he explains what Mia and him were talking about the kunais, and the witches destroyed them, and she was like, do you think this means we're not meant to be together? He was like, "I don't know." It's kind of a bittersweet moment, honestly, but at the same time, I love it. I love that he always comes after her. And then the number one is Diego saves Maddie from limbo. If y'all thought any other scene was going to be first, then either you don't know me or you don't know Miego, because that scene is top tier. It's the season 2 finale. I love it. Maddie and Diego devise a plan so Diego can open the portal because he figured out he can create a portal to Limbo. And then Maddie with a rope would jump in there, save each cancel member with the rope, and then they'll pull her out last because they need the rope to keep pulling everyone out of Limbo. And then, so she did that. They were getting people out, but then Diego was losing strength because holding up the portal for a long time was a lot of work. And then, when Maddie was coming out, he collapsed and kind of passes out, closing the portal. And then he wakes back up a little bit later, because this is kind of switched scenes for a minute, but when it showed them again, he wakes up, he's like, "Where's Maddie?" And they explained that she never got out of the portal, and one of the council members like, "When you get stuck between here and Limbo, then that's it." And he's like, "What? No!" So he is like, he starts trying to open a portal and he couldn't, and he was like, "I'm going to open this portal and you guys are going to pull as hard as you can, okay?" And so he manages to open the portal and they pull and they manage to get Maddie out. And then she hugs Katie and Sophie because they were so happy that she was saved. And then she turns to Diego. She's like, "Proxy, I knew you would save me." And then she runs up to him and they kiss, which is their first on-screen kiss, by the way. They kissed before, which is kind of obvious, but like I get all into that in my relationship timeline video as well. So if you haven't watched that, definitely watch that. I go into from every single Miego moment from beginning to end, and I do get a little ranty in scenes like the whole Katie thing because I'm still not over it. I should go time. But anyways, and some other scenes like the fact that we missed out on some moments, like when missed out on them first dating or their first kiss or whatever. So yeah. But anyways, and then she pulls away. She's like, "Were you stacking on onions?" Which is a funny thing from earlier in the season. And he's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I love onions," which is funny because before she hated that he was stacking on onions. She thought it was disgusting. But then this time, he was like, she was like, "I love it," because I just think that was a nice parallel. But and then they kiss again, and it was just such a sweet moment. And of course, that had to be my number one because I'm obsessed with that entire sequence. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Definitely watch my Maddie and Diego relationship timeline video, and comment down below your favorite Miego scenes, and we'll chat about it below in the comments. Until next time.